My name is Emily Scher, and I live in Zeeland, North Dakota on my family farm.
Okay, tell us about growing up and living on your family farm.
Growing up on my family farm was interesting. I would have not wanted to grow up any other way. I loved it. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to nurture baby animals. It taught me everything in my life, and I would have not wanted to grow up in any other way.
What type of chores have you done growing up from when you were a little kid to when you finally moved off the farm?
My chores growing up, we would take turns feeding the calves, and then we would fight over who got to ride around with dad in the tractor when mom and us, we were supposed to be, my sisters and I, supposed to be milking. And we would fight who got to ride with dad because that was nap time in the afternoon. But so doing that, doing the baby calves, and then mowing lawn, picking rocks, doing all that fun stuff on the farm. Older now I get to clean the house and more food, cooking, and taking care of your vehicle and all of that adult fun stuff.
Why don't you tell us that you're the youngest and you have two older sisters?
Yes, I have two older sisters, and I'm the baby in the family. My oldest sister is Alicia. She's 35. Kristen is 30, and I'm 25.
Were you spoiled because you were the youngest?
No, I was not spoiled. I was maybe the favorite, but I wasn't spoiled. No, maybe a little bit, but no, we were all spoiled. Alicia probably got the worst end out of the deal because she was the oldest one that had to train mom and dad in, but we were all loved the same, I would think. They're probably going to disagree with me, but
I would say as a farm kid, you went to school in town.
yes, I went to school in Zeeland, K through 12. I had 5 kids in my class, graduated with 5 kids in my class. There were 2 girls and 3 boys. So we were a close-knit class. We definitely fought. We fought more like brothers and sisters than most classmates probably would, but I was happy with it. We all loved each other, even though we don't want to admit it. We loved each other, and we still try to keep in touch a little bit, but we're going to have our 10-year reunion in 2 years, so we'll see if that actually happens or not. But
And were you all farm kids?
um yeah, well, for the most part, yes. The other girl in my class, they had a dairy farm in town also, on the north side of Zeeland. There was one boy who moved over here from Ellendale, and he lived in town until he was a eighth grader or freshman. Then he moved over to a farm in Venturia and helped. I don't know what you a foster dad. I don't know if you want to call him that. Just the guy that was letting him live with him. He farmed, and then the other 2 grew up on a farm also. One of the boys grew up on a dairy farm way north of Zeeland, and then the other boy, his dad, grain farms. So yes, we were all farm kids.
So you really weren't picked on because you were a farm kid or anything?
Nope, nope. And if you had to leave early to go pick rocks or fix fence or to milk, no, it wasn't questioned or anything like that. Everyone knew what you were going through. If you came into school and you were crabby and tired, everyone knew what you were going through because they were usually tired too. So, and in the summertime, it was, can I come out and play? Well, I gotta pick rocks first, and then we can play. Or we had a pool out here, so we were the community pool of Zeeland, and everyone always wanted to come out here. And it's like, well, we gotta pick rocks first, and then you guys can come swimming. And everyone was very understanding of it. And
Was it a real pool or a place for the water to cows?
nope, it was a real pool. We had a above ground pool. We did well. I didn't have to swim in the water tank. Dad did, and he swam in the dugout. But I don't even remember. We've had a pool here as long as I could remember, and we took it down 2 years ago, and just because it was too much to take care of. But yes, no, it was a real above ground pool.
And then you continued your education after high school?
Yes, after high school, I actually went to Bismarck State College and got my degree in graphic design. And then I came back to Zeeland and worked at Missouri Valley Ag with Susan Ziegler. She was kind of the reason why I went into agronomy. Then went back for agronomy at Bismarck State College. And then I did my internship and worked for a year at North Central Farmers Elevator in Harriet. as I started out as an intern, and then I did agronomy, and then I transferred into crop insurance in June. So in June it will be 1 year that I have been in this field.
First, tell me what an agronomist does, and then tell me what a crop adjuster does.
An agronomist, in my opinion, is a doctor of plants for your farm. I guess is the easiest way I can say it. I kind of feel like with the farming nowadays, farmers rely on their agronomists more because the chemicals changing so much, and there's so many different genetics with corn and soybeans and all of that. So an agronomist is pretty much like your right-hand man. They're gonna go out, and if you're super busy with cattle, I mean, I had a lot of guys that were cattle farmers also, so they're getting their cattle out to pasture or finishing calving or vaccinating, and they just can't get out to their field to check the weeds and everything. And so I would go out and I would scout for them and then let them know what weeds are in there. Then we would come up with a chemical remedy. And so I think an agronomist definitely helps the farmers nowadays. Could they live without them? Yes, there are still farmers that do. It's just to make your life a little easier. Or if you just have a question like, oh, what's this weed in my field? I've never seen it before. I've been farming for 35 years. Well, you can call them and they'll be like, oh, Roundup will kill it, or dicamba or something.
So typically, who do agronomists work for?
The farmers.
What type of company?
Oh, well, the agronomists usually work for elevators or agronomy locations. So around here, we now have Agtegra and Northern Plains, and then there's Missouri Valley Ag, which is just straight agronomy, and then like DFC in Hazleton, which is agronomy also. So agronomy centers that are strictly just your chemical, seed, fertilizer, and then you have your elevators like Northern Plains that you can bring your grain in also.
So the first day when you were in agronomy class, they told you to answer that question, I work for the farmers?
Yes and no. We got brought up that way. I mean, when I was an agronomist, farming is your livelihood. That's your money. You are sticking $2 in the ground, you're sticking $200,000 in the ground. And if I go out there and I tell you a wrong chemical recipe and I kill your crop, that's $200,000 down the drain. So I took my job very seriously. I hope agronomists take their job very, very seriously. It is a very important job. You're dealing with the farmer's livelihood. If they can't get a crop off that, they can't feed their family. They can't make their payments. So in a sense, in my mind, an agronomist works for the farmer.
Okay, quickly, just tell me how old you are again.
I'm 25.
Okay. And then you decided, tell us why you decided to switch into crop insurance and what that does. Crop insurance.
Yep. So I decided to become a crop adjuster. When I was working with Susan at Missouri Valley Ag, I was kind of her right-hand man, gopher type of a thing. She hired me out there to do secretarial work and then just little piddly stuff, deliver seed and everything to farmers. I loved that. Loved going out and getting to talk with the farmers, pretty much just asking them how their day is going, letting them vent a little bit. And then I got to blend fertilizer, which was fun also because you get to make all these little concoctions and do all that stuff. I met a lot of nice people when I was doing agronomy. I loved it. And when I started selling, as the agronomist does, I hated that part. I couldn't turn off the BSing to actually sell. And it really hurt me when a farmer would be like, Emily, how do you expect me to buy a bag of corn for $300 when I'm only getting $2 for it at the elevator? And it's like, I agree with you 100%. I don't know how to fix that. So that's pretty much why I went into crop adjusting. I kind of fell into this job. I was looking into it, but I wasn't really looking into it. And then it just came upon, and I love it now. I still get to go out and still get to talk to the farmers. Usually it's not on good circumstances. I mean, what do you have a crop adjuster for? To go out there because you had hail or wind or drought, or there's prevent plant that you can't get into a spot in your field, or you need to replant because of frost or something like that. Most of the time farmers are still pretty they're still pretty happy about it. They still want to see you. They still want you to come out. They're still pretty nice to you. So that's kind of why I love being outside, love talking to the farmers. I just don't have to worry about selling now. Don't have to worry about selling myself to them.
So you want to take over the farm.
Correct.
Okay, so tell me about your desire to be a farmer and if you think that you're going to have to blend having another job with that as well.
Yes, I want to take over the farm. I'm definitely going to have another job to do this. My boyfriend grew up in Hague and he grew up on a farm. So we're hoping to live in Hague and farm his land and then farm our land as well. Health insurance is a big deal. It boggles my mind how expensive it is for something that people need in life. So to have a job that will either A, pay for it, or B, help you pay for it will make life 100 times easier. And to have a job with my crop adjusting job, it's pretty flexible. So I can still help in the field. I can still help plant if we're not busy. I can still fix fence, do all of those things, but yet I still have a job that I will be able to collect a paycheck and help with bills and all of that stuff.
Now, what do you see the farms being? The blending of the farms from your boyfriend and the dairy farm here. What type of farms do you see you having? What type of crops? What type of animals are you going to have on?
We're definitely going to have cattle on our farm. He already has a few cows with his dad, so we'll keep that tradition going. There's no more milking cows. Dad made sure when he sold the milk cows that he sold everything along in the parlor so that no one could start milking again if they wanted to. So we don't have to worry about that, but I'm okay with that as long as we still have calves, and they have chickens out there, which I'm okay with having chickens. And so we're going to have corn and soybeans and wheat, and we'll have to put alfalfa down and to have bales, and then we'll make straw bales and stuff like that. So
why did your father want to get out of the dairy business that cut and dry?
Because my dad farmed for 30 years, 32 years, and he was 35 years. He farmed or dairied a long time, and he was tired of it. And I mean, I think if one of us wanted to start milking, he wouldn't have shied us away from it. It was just he was tired of it. He didn't want to do that way of life anymore. And it was getting to the point where the milk price was low, but the corn price was high. The feed price was high. So when you're feeding a cow, but you're not getting that milk out of it, well, you are, but just the price of it, it wasn't penciling out anymore, and how he didn't understand how to make that work anymore.
So the equation was broken.
Yes.
When you think about growing up on a farm, growing up in this family, do you feel that your parents sort of encouraged you to become a farmer, or at least enabled you to become a farmer in the future?
My parents never pushed any of us to do anything. They always supported our decisions. Like I said, I graduated and went into graphic design school. I have no idea where that came from. I enjoy taking pictures. That was a big part of it. I'd like to think that I'm a creative person, but when it came to school, then I actually did get a job in it for a little bit, but I was at a desk by myself for 8 hours a day. And that's very hard for me to do because I like to talk and I like to be outside. So to be at a desk by myself was not good. But they supported every decision that we made. If we wanted to take a year off and go traveling for a year, if we could have afforded it, they would have supported that 100%. And I know my dad was so excited when I decided to go back for agronomy because we were going to get cows together. We were going to fix the fences, and he was going to try to transition me into this. And my uncle has been a very good part on keeping the land, still farming it and keeping it going, and in the family in a sense. I mean, it's an uncle through marriage, but it's still family, and it's not just some random person wanting to farm it. And so that makes it a little better too.
When your dad died, did that temper your wanting to go into agriculture at all?
Oh, yes. So he passed away in January, and that was my first year of school. And so I had a semester left, and I did not want to go back to school. I went back, and it was very hard. I had a roommate. We rented a place together, and I would have not been able to make it through without her. My classmates, who were all 4 years younger than me, became some of my best friends because I would come to school and they could tell I was crying, and they helped me with my homework and just helped me through. It was a very hard time, and I thank them all for that.
So you think your dad would be proud of where you're at now?
Oh gosh, I hope so. I hope he's proud. I definitely feel him sometimes. Even walking around outside, he just little glimpses, you can just feel that he's there. You see a butterfly or something like that, you just know that he's there.
So how do you feel about the future with you and your boyfriend? It's kind of a bold adventure.
Well, my boyfriend has been in my life for 6.5 years. We've been dating for that long. We've been best friends since I was a freshman in high school. We've known each other growing up, so I'm hoping in the future that it turns into being my husband, but God has a plan for that, and we're along for the ride.
But that'd be a little scary about jumping into this farming thing, isn't it?
Well, we'll make sure we're married before we jump into it. But yes, but it's something that we've always wanted. I mean, when we first started dating, he'd come over here, and my dad would have, oh my gosh, you'd have to rip him in the house to come in and eat supper because they were talking about farming and just, my dad was a Case IH man, and Tyler, my boyfriend, is a Case IH man. So they were talking about that, and Tyler always told Dad what tractors he wants outside, and he has told my mother that. So hopefully in the will she has that written in there that we get these tractors. And so he's making his way into the family that way. It's just, we're just being a little slow on the engagement part, but my family's accepted it. We're just patiently waiting now.
Okay, hopefully no one will drive your John Deere tractor up to the front door.
No.
We'll go back and we'll talk a little bit about, once again, growing up on a farm and how things might have changed. So I think we talked about that off camera, but if you can tell us how your chores and things like that, the day-to-day thing might have changed as you grew up and as maybe technology came into play.
Growing up, chores were a lot easier. Well, I shouldn't say that. Chores were a lot harder because when you would go pick rocks, you were picking rocks by hand. We had an old 40/20 tractor where Dad would put it in first or second gear and lift the bucket up a little bit, and it would drive straight down the field really slow, and we would all walk along and start picking up rocks and throw them in the bucket. Nowadays they have rock pickers that pull behind the tractor, which I'm not a fan of, and I'm sure that there's some people that will disagree with me, but I just don't like them. Milking, we went from, having to watch the cow constantly so that we could pull the milker off to where it was an automatic milker where it would just come off. You could milk 3 cows when I was little to milking up to 10 when I got older. And then in 2008 when we quit, technology now in the milking it amazes me how it's pretty much just robotics, and there's sometimes not even a human in the building, which amazes me. But I still feel like growing up that way, it gave you respect for people and discipline, and made you realize that having to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to milk wasn't always very fun, but you had to do it because the cows were your way of life. The farming part of it, the tractor part of it, I've never had auto steer, so I don't know how to explain that or how to. I know it's made people's life easier. I mean, I help people roll beans and everything, and they have auto steer, obviously, so it's nice how you just put the tractor straight, push the button, and there it goes. But we never grew up with that, so to fully help, I'm not sure. You know, spraying auto steer is amazing. How you can set that on your planter, and there you go down the field. Hopefully the GPS doesn't give out, but
Well, isn't it comforting to know that one thing you have in count in with your great great grandmother is that you were picking rocks in a field?
yeah,
There's no ending rocks when you're in Zealand.
yes,
I've never seen more rock piles so high in my entire life as when you drive into Zealand.
yes,
You guys are the king of the rock pile.
that's the joke around here that people don't know what rocks are until you farm around the Zeeland area, because there's people in Strasbourg that complain that they have rocks. It's like, no, you don't. Come to Zeeland. Come to Zeeland and go down a field, and you will find more rocks than you can handle.
What do you think the future? Do you think of the future for a woman if you were to talk to a young woman, maybe in high school now, and she said she was interested in agriculture? What would you tell her about it?
I definitely support women wanting to be in agriculture. I think that it's coming. It's good. It's a good thing. No offense, but women have a little more patience when it comes to certain things. So when you're dealing with an angry farmer coming in, a woman will be able to talk a little more. It is very hard to be a woman in agriculture. It was an adjustment to be a woman in agronomy, because dealing with old German farmers who are stern in a way and Roundup's going to kill everything and I don't need all this other stuff, it's hard to explain to them that you can't spray Roundup all the time. It's going to become resistant. We need to make a different plan. And for them to listen to a 21-year-old girl who's just came out of college is very hard. So if they have a strong head on them and can take it and dish it, you'll be fine in the agriculture world. Just know that there are days that you're going to go to work and you're going to come home and you're going to cry and think that you can't do it, and that's okay, because you go to sleep and you wake up and you have a new mindset and you just remember that you love this, and you go for it. And you know, one person said to me one time that I don't understand how, and this, it wasn't a farmer, I don't understand how you can farm. You put so much money into it and you don't get anything back. And I just laughed and I said, people don't farm to be rich. People farm because they love it.
Have you gotten, or do you think you're going to get, after you get married, any pushback about, like your mom, working in the field and wanting to work in the field as opposed to maybe just staying in the kitchen and doing chores?
Doing womanly things.
Yeah.
I feel like the younger generation, so now let's say 20-year-olds to 45-year-olds, men who farm, are more open to the idea of women helping in the field, because they realize that it's hard to just farm 500 acres now and make a decent living off of it. So when you're farming 1,000 acres, 2,000 acres, 20,000 acres, they realize that they can't do it on their own. And when you have a woman that wants to go in the tractor, because let's be honest, when you're planting 1,000 acres of beans, when you get to that 800 mark, you're pretty bored and don't want to be in there anymore. So if you have a woman that's willing to go plant for you, roll beans, do any of that stuff, you should probably take her up on the offer, because everyone knows how boring a tractor can get.
Do you see your mom as a role model?
Oh, my mom is definitely a role model to me. I'd have to say she's the strongest woman I know. She has taught me so much about everything, from farming to boys to cooking to cleaning and washing. I still call her and ask her how I'm supposed to wash clothes. or boil water, for heaven's sake. I mean, I know how to do that, but yes, no, my mom is my biggest role model and the the person that I look up to in life.
When you were going to Bismarck State and when you were getting your education, did you have other women that were taking agriculture as you were?
Yes, so when I was going to college, I had 3 women professors, and then in our group, so we had, my program was called AIT, Agriculture, Industry, and Technology. Then we had what the farmers went to school for is what we called it, and I don't know what their degree was called. Then we had like the people that were going into insurance also. So you had 4 different groups, 3 different groups of college kids, and there was 50 of us in that class. And out of that 50, I think there was 10 girls, 15 girls. So, and then the freshmen and sophomores did have some classes together. The teachers, the professors kind of like flip-flopped them in a sense. So like your freshman year, you would take precision technology, and then that's what the sophomores were taking in a sense. So I would have liked to see more women in there, but I know when I went to school my first year in 2010, there weren't that many girls in school. So from, what was that, like a 4-year gap, it was amazing to see how many women came into the field.
Other than your mom, what sort of support group is out there for you?
My support group is obviously my 2 sisters. We talk to each other probably 4 times a week. And oh gosh, my family. I mean, my family, Tyler's family, we all support each other, the community. When you get a man behind you that knows that how you can make an impact on life, that's probably the biggest push and the biggest thing that you can ask for in life.
Do you have a bunch of other ladies though that you can get with and chat about whatever?
I actually do have a coworker from Gackle who's 26. So she's good because she is married to a farmer. They live on a farm. They farm with cattle and everything. So I can call her and talk to her about that stuff. But I also have friends too that have nothing to do with farming. So it's just nice to go out sometimes and be able to talk about, I don't know, whatever gossip there is, and you talk about that for 5 minutes and then you usually change the subject. But
What's it like growing up in a small town like Zeeland for a kid like you?
oh, growing up in a small town, I loved it. There's probably some people that didn't love it, but I did because everyone knew your business, which is good and bad. But everyone knew your business because if you weren't home for the weekend and if someone drove in the yard out here and a neighbor drove by and they knew you weren't home, they would come check on it because they'd be like, okay, that's not right. My best friends came from small towns. You all got it. You all understood that family came first, church came first, and then you could go party or go hang out or do whatever.
Did you ever feel that your mom talked about not being at a disadvantage in school? Did you ever feel like at a disadvantage like that, or watching television commercials about certain things that people in bigger cities could get that you didn't have access to?
No, I don't think so. Growing up in a small school was good because you got a lot of one-on-one time with teachers. Could we have learned more? Maybe, but it doesn't matter if you grow up with 5 kids in your class or 500 kids, it's what you put into school. I had, well, 3 kids. We were all smart in my class, but there was 2 of them that could have done wonderful things. I mean, we have a chiropractor that came out of Zeeland. We have a pharmacist that's going to school right now. I mean, we have all of these great careers that have came out of a small school that it didn't matter if they came from 5 or 500. You were still great. It was what you put into it.
How about people coming back to the small community I mean, that's obviously something you'd like to see, but is it realistic? Do you see that trend happening?
We definitely need people to come back to small communities, but it's hard because of the way that the world is going. It's hard to come home and farm if your farm is only 500 acres because farmers, because you have the big guys out there that are farming 15,000, 20,000, and they want you to come home and start farming, but how are you supposed to compete with a 15,000 acre farmer when here you're just this itty bitty person who needs to go take loans out for everything? So, and I don't know how you fix that. I mean, the world has changed. It's not the dirty 30s anymore. You don't, the women have to go get jobs. I mean, I think that's to some people too, that to get their mind around that they can't just sit at home and clean and cook and all of that. That if it is going out and helping on the farm, that can be their job. If being a stay-at-home mom, but taking your children to swimming lessons and driver's ed and all of that stuff, that's a job. Not necessarily going and working at the school or going and being a nurse or a teacher or anything like that. Like, people need to understand that there's other jobs that women can do. But that's the other thing too. If a young man's coming back to farm, what's his wife supposed to do? Because if he's coming home to a 500 acre farm, there's no way that they can both farm. She's going to need a job. And you usually have to drive 25, 30 miles for that job, which that's okay, but we live in North Dakota where it's raining one day and snowing the next. So,
In your role as an agronomist or a crop adjuster, you get out a bit. I'm just wondering if you've ever seen the sort of gender reversal where the woman would be the farmer and the husband would be the one to go out and get the job.
I actually, yes, my old boss, Susan Ziegler, she grew up in Brandon, Minnesota, and her mom stayed home and farmed, and her dad was a trucker. So that's one that I can think of off the top of my head. I know that there's women out there that they do more of the farming. There's a couple women around here that their husbands sell seed, so they, he'll put the seed in the planter that day, and then she'll go out and plant, and he'll go deliver seed or, whatever he's got to do that day. So, is it a bad thing? I don't think so.
Is it realistic though?
I think it's very realistic. People just need to start realizing that we're not a man and a woman type of jobs are intertwining. There's men nurses out there, and a woman's supposed to be a nurse. No, I mean, it's okay for a man to be a nurse. If you're a person that needs help getting out of bed, I would rather have a man who's a little bit muscular lift me out than an itty bitty nurse who might throw her back out. So it's okay that women are trying to farm or starting to farm, and it's all working out, and that's what I just want to keep believing, and that it's just going to keep working.
So, anything else that we were going to touch on that we haven't touched on or you thought we were going to talk about?
The women before me, I don't know if I learned so much with the farming part, but like my grandma Cher was a very good cook, like my mother said. So learning that German, I love my German Russian heritage. I wish I could speak German because that's a dying language. And so I look up to them on that part for teaching me how to cook. I learned from them hard work. I mean, my grandma raised 10 boys, so that's a lot of laundry to do. That's a lot of stinkiness to deal with. So on that part, yes, I wish that I would have more women to look up to in the agriculture world. So I'm hoping that I can be a big part of that my 13-year-old niece will want to come and help me feed my baby calves someday, or will want to come home and collect eggs, or my soon-to-be 1-year-old niece will want to come home and mow lawn on the farm because she doesn't get to do that in her home, or even generations to come. I mean, my best friends, I hope that they have little girls who want to farm or marry a farmer, and at least be able to say, well, I got to drive a tractor today. That was my job. And it's not work if you love what you're doing.